Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPblab, episode number 107. We're going to be talking about the marketing of Jetpack.
Yeah, so
I love that I'm recording over here somewhere, and I got like all this stuff going on. That's awesome.
it's summertime.
Yeah, exactly. It's summertime. We got people walking by and everything. I'm over at my my in-laws' house. So yeah. Anyhow, so we want to talk a little bit about marketing of Jetpack, and we thought we'd do this thing called WPblab Quickie, which is just like 30 minutes. We'll just talk about a particular topic and just get it knocked out and be done with it. So, Bridget, tell people about yourself real quick.
Hey, I'm Bridget Willard. I'm a freelance marketer. I am accepting clients, and you can find me at bridgetwillard.com, unless I change my name to Elizabeth Songbird. You know.
Is that what's happening? All right. There'll be a poll later, right? Is that what's going to happen?
Right.
You have a Twitter poll and everybody's just going to vote on it?
Well, my friend Jason Tucker says only the names available, which makes sense.
.biz.
Oh, man. No, not worth it.
So talking about .biz, let's talk a little bit about this, about marketing for Jetpack and how you and I were kind of looking around. You sent me some links. You're like, hey, what's going on with this? What are we seeing happening within this whole thing? So a couple episodes back on WPwatercooler, we were talking about Jetpack itself. And it was interesting because one of the things that came up was the fact that Jetpack is now like a host in a way. Like they are somehow doing something with WordPress.com and that they have their plugin and it ties into this and that. And I had no idea what was going on. And then come to find out, it's actually they're doing some type of connection with web hosts. And that they themselves obviously are a host as well, but they're also tying into web hosts as well. So you were telling me some stuff about it. What did you find out in your expert research out in the field?
Well, just you describing it that way reminds me of a poem or series to say, which is, "Oh, the wicked web that we weave when we first practice to deceive," right?
Right.
So, and I'm using web as a pun, but we all know that WordPress.com is indeed a hosting company. Owned by Automattic, they also have a plugin called Jetpack. In order to use Jetpack, on a self-hosted site, you must have a .com account. Most people don't object to it, but with the GDPR and privacy and stuff like that, that might now be more of a forefront issue. We haven't heard anybody complaining about the fact that you have to create an account on .com, even if you never were there in the first place. Like I migrated from .com, so that's totally fine. And it's interesting to me because we have a hard time describing things that evolve or iterate really quickly, okay? So originally, Jetpack was a way to connect your .com self-hosted so that you could use the app. That's why I used it. Mm-hmm. And then they started having WordPress. And then they started, which I was using. I get it free with Pressable now, and I don't even have it connected because I don't even care. Whatever. And then they have a CDN. And then they have stats. And why do I need their stats? Why do I need their stats on their app? Why do I need an app on my phone with their stats when I have a better app with better analytics on it called Google Analytics? Like, that's a real question, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I have Google Analytics on my site because I want to know where they come from. So they have a better histogram? No, they don't have a better histogram. So, like, you start going, wait a second. And this is one of the reasons why I do encourage people to hang out on LinkedIn, because once you follow companies, they'll say, hey, Automattic was mentioned in the news, which is what happened. I got a press release today that Jetpack is announcing a strategic alliance with A2 Hosting, that every A2 Hosting account will have a free personal Jetpack account, which is $35 or $25, whatever it is. Yeah. So then you go, like, what part of Jetpack costs? Because I didn't realize it costs. at first, like, what is it costing?
Yeah.
You know, what is the cost?
Yeah.
And what is Jetpack? And there was some questions last year. I know at AWP in San Diego, there was a big debate about Jetpack being the only plugin from the WordPress repository, which is allowed to have in-app purchases, as we know in the iOS world, right? You can buy
So it's the Apple,
premium.
it's like how Apple does it. Yeah.
Jetpack is the only plugin which allows you to make a financial transaction within the plugin. So for example, if I downloaded a Give WP for my site, and then I wanted to get recurring donations, I have to buy it from givewp.com, right? I can't within my dashboard from the controls in GiveWP, I cannot purchase that. And to me, that is a big giant mistake that
Right.
WordPress is making, but a different question, right? That's a different, but to me, for the user, I don't want to have to go to givewp.com. I just want to buy it from there, right? But Jetpack does allow that because Jetpack is owned by WordPress.com.
Yep.
And yep. I mean, it's owned by Automattic, and Automattic has a lot of people who volunteer at the WordPress project. And so there's lots of, oh, what web we're weaving. And I don't know if there's deception involved, but there's definitely confusion and blurred lines. You know, insert blurred lines here. Okay, so
I see some interesting stuff with this. So there's a few different pieces to this. One of them is that Jetpack also lets you put ads on your website. So now they have the ad component that you can turn on ads, and now you can tell it where the ads are going to go, or it shoves them onto the site. I haven't played with it because I use.
But there's also other plugins that let you do that, right?
Right. But this is like a value add on their side. It's like, oh, but you know, by installing this, you can also run ads on your site. Oh, by the way, if you're using a .blog, it does this. And oh, if you're doing this, it does that. Like you said with the analytics. And there's a whole bunch of those sorts of things, especially when it comes to like comments. You said the CDN with Photon. You have all those kinds of pieces, publicize. You have a lot of those things that are really tying it in. But what I think is kind of interesting about this is that it almost makes it like the like button for Facebook, where by turning this thing on, you're allowing an outside entity, which would be WordPress.com, to be able to tap into your WordPress.org self-hosted site and be able to get that information from there, be able to see analytics, be able to see all that stuff. Not to say that the whole reason why this exists is to track everything, but you can track everything, you know?
But we don't know, right? Okay, so, and then here's the thing, like, let's roll it back a little bit with like best practices, coding best practices. Themes are for design, plugins are for function, and that they tell you to have the least amount of plugins as possible, that only do one specific thing so that you have as little conflict as possible. So then you have Jetpack, which is like, remember the Bible, it says, what's your name? The guy that was possessed with a demon, he goes, Legion, for we are many. Like I'm sorry, but I have a Bible teaching background. So I think of Jetpack, I think Legion, for we are many, because there's so much in there. And even as somebody who isn't a developer, I've been taught, wait a second, only have something for one specific purpose. So you talk about plug and blow, you talk about site optimization, and you sort of wonder like what's happening. So, but I could see for the consumer side, having one ring to rule them all, right? Is a good thing for onboarding, right? So if you have one plugin that does everything, you're going to have more of a Wix-like experience. But so I think that's why we're talking about marketing with Jetpack. So I'm saying, okay, I get the concept, I think, of what Automattic is trying to do with, okay, so if the hosting company uses Jetpack, then it makes it easier for the customer. But do we choose our host first? Do we really choose our host first based upon that kind of feature set?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to look at it, I just bought a car recently, and I bought a Kia. And I, no joke, bought this car because it had CarPlay, and it was the cheapest car I could get that had CarPlay, and it was a hybrid. So because of those two factors, I could have CarPlay, so I can listen to my music and be able to have the thing up on the screen and not have to pay for updates for DVD updates for being able to do navigation or any of those sorts of things. But I was also able to actually have CarPlay in my car, so I was able to have that experience. So I was looking for a car. I was looking for a hybrid car, and I was looking for a hybrid car who also included CarPlay. Now, I wasn't gonna go buy a crappy car just because those things were in there. I was buying it because it was a good car, 100,000-mile warranty, blah 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 blah. There's all these extra things, but I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't go look for a web host because I'm gonna get Jetpack for free. Just like, for instance, another example of this would be like T-Mobile. T-Mobile just recently had a thing a couple months back where if you signed up for the T-Mobile One plan, you would also get Netflix for free. And it's like, whoa, you get free Netflix? How cool is that? Now, are you going to go and pick T-Mobile because you're going to get Netflix for free? No. I mean, most people pay for Netflix. So now you have that whole issue of converting your account to a Netflix account that's tied into T-Mobile. So I guess the value add things are really good, but I don't know if the value add things I don't know if I'm looking for that value add to figure out if the product is going to be worth it for me to use or not.
Right. And you buying a car is different than me buying a car.
Right.
Because you're inherently more technical. So I would be the consumer, you would be the agency, right? Yeah. So you're looking at tech specs, I'm looking at car payments.
Right. Right.
As a single woman, I want a car that outlasts its payment. So yes, I bought a Civic. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're like, I want this feature, this feature, this feature.
Find me the cheapest one that does that. That's actually a good car. Done.
Right. But you're comparing, whereas I knew I wanted a certain region of manufacturers. I wanted a Japanese car that would outlive its payments, right? So the thing is, like, that's why I'm confused about the partnership with the hosting company. And I'm wondering, like, is Jetpack going to win from this? Is it going to be a better experience for the consumer? Do they think this helps agencies choose them? Because,
well, it guarantees that the plugin's going to be enabled because you're providing them the additional thing. You're getting the paid version of it is. So you're getting that for free. So that's going to want you, it's going to tell you, hey, you should go and install this. So because
this has nothing to do with the consumer at all.
None of this stuff ever usually has anything to do with the consumer.
You just unlocked it for me in my
brain. Yeah. So the other
WPblab is like listening to us brainstorm from what?
Right. So here's the other thing about it, though.
It's numbers on a balance sheet. Because remember, there was that weird question at the keynote in Europe where somebody asked if somebody was buying Automattic.
Yeah, and I brought this up on WaterCooler, and everybody was just kind of like,
because they don't pay attention.
And I was like, okay.
I'm telling you.
I mean, I'm not.
This is to bring up the number. For a software company, what makes you valuable? Customer base, the size of your customer base. So if they they get that many more customers. Oh my God.
So another good example of this is that company that does MoviePass, right? So MoviePass, they went and I can't remember the name of the movie off the top of my head. I have to Google it or whatever. But there's a movie that they actually put money into. Like they invested in this movie. And when they invested in the movie, they went and told everybody you can go watch this movie for free if you had MoviePass. So now what's happening is everybody's getting to watch a movie for free. They're paying for the MoviePass because MoviePass is just a credit card essentially to the movie theater, just a credit card. So they go and run it through. Now everyone wants to be able to have. They're going to look at it and go, "Whoa, this thing had a zillion people go watch the movie. Well, they got it for free." So
it's inflated statistics.
Big deal. Yeah. So another good example of this regarding Automattic is when Automattic lists their preferred, I don't know what the terminology is for it. Let's just say preferred web hosts. The preferred web hosts, those guys, somebody's paying Automattic and Automattic's providing them with the service. It's an advertising play in that whole piece. So because of that, now you have these web hosts that are paying into the fact that, you know, they want to have, they want to be advertised to as, hey, here's the place that you should probably go and host your WordPress.org self-hosted site, and here's the company that will do it for you. And that goes into a whole nother kind of, you know, we're not a business podcast, but
we are. We're marketing. Marketing is business.
Yeah, I know, but we're not like a biz dev or something like that. I mean, for
I'm
me,
just saying, we're the only ones talking about this. Nobody in WordPress
I know.
space is talking about this because everybody's too afraid to. And I don't really care because you know what? This has nothing to do with the users. This has to do with the hosts getting free advertisement, just like you said, and Jetpack getting more customers so that Automattic can be sold at a higher price. And when they do get sold, be sure to remember this WPblab, as we call it.
Because we're going to call it Google Blab.
And that's why we are a business development marketing show.
Oh, we just changed it. Now we're doing business development as well.
Well, it's all marketing. Like that's what marketing is strategic communications. And this is a marketing ploy in order to increase, artificially or otherwise, the value of a company to sell it.
Yeah.
This is inherently what our show is about, but at a much bigger scale. I kept thinking, why would that's why I was like, put it on Facebook. I was tweeting it out. I shared it. I shared it with Pressable, who's my client. I'm like, what is this? This is weird because A2 Hosting seems so independent to me. Not like it doesn't make sense for them to be in bed with Automattic.
But there's other companies that were also doing this too. It's not just them, right?
Yeah. Pressable gives you a premium. That's worth having. Not the free one. Who wants the free one that costs $25? Oh, wow. That's really going to make me switch from SiteGround or Bluehost to A2. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it help A2 get agencies who don't even use Jetpack? I mean, the comments on my Facebook thread are not.
It's true.
They're not flattering. Okay. They're not going to get the freelancer agencies. That's going to make them want to leave.
So the other thing with Jetpack is that Jetpack also has a theme component to it as well. So you can actually go and shop for themes and be able to find a theme that you want and do that. So what Automattic is trying to do is they're wanting to make sure that no matter what, they can make some money in some fashion in one of these things by providing this one plugin that's automatically installed or can be installed into WordPress and can be automatically installed or pushed into somebody's installation from a web host who has done whatever type of deal that they need to do in order to be able to provide that.
They probably think the onboarding is easy.
Yeah.
It would be interesting, and it would be an interesting experiment to get somebody like Jen Tucker and record like show and tell of her starting an account from scratch and to see what her experience is.
Well, she has plenty of websites, I'll tell you that much.
I know, but like starting from the way the host wants you to have it or whatever, or anybody, maybe Jess, but somebody who's not, because when I used WordPress.com 10 years ago, it looked like WordPress does now. But when Jason Canill and I tried to make a .com account, like, I don't know, like a year and a half ago, we were both super frustrated because the UI had completely changed and it was I did not understand it at all. And he was completely frustrated. So like there's that onboarding of a website, that's the biggest problem. And that's where Squarespace and Wix are winning. And I think that Gutenberg is trying to solve that. And if they have Jetpack already installed, I think that maybe they're trying to make, I mean, we're not even talking about the fact that Jetpack competes with other plugins in the WordPress ecosystem that don't have the capital or the political power to be that front-facing. Now, some have, like Beaver Builder partners with people and, GoDaddy partners with whatever, and Mojo Marketplace is there, but they take a cut. I mean, Mojo Marketplace And some of those places
As they should. I mean, it costs money to run a business, so you might as well.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, they
Oh, yeah.
do, and so that's the reality. But it's funny because in this world of Lego website building, Jetpack's the Millennium Falcon kit, and all you just want to build is like a house.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too much.
Yeah, there is quite a bit that's involved in Jetpack itself. There's plenty of great plugins that were like they made it so that people would want to use it, because if you're not wanting to spend a whole bunch of extra money on a CDN, or if you're doing any type of like sciencey type stuff and need to use LaTeX to be able to display, equations and those sorts of things, there's a whole bunch of these different reasons why you would want to use it. And I mean, I myself, I use it on a few of my sites, and there's great reason to use it, but there's also other alternatives that are out there as well. And there's also ways of turning off a bunch of functionality that's in Jetpack using plugins that people have made, just like how you can disable stuff that's in Yoast, or you can disable stuff in a whole bunch of other different plugins that are out there as well.
Anyway, it's food for thought. You're getting pretty dark.
It is getting pretty dark, which is why I was like, hey, let's knock this out real quick. And, it's not going to be on our normal night or anything like that, but we'll definitely have a show out there so you guys can go take a look at that and go from there. So summer months are always crazy. Summer months are always crazy for any of the shows I've done for, last many years I've been doing them. And you got to kind of make things happen no matter what.
Yeah, it's a good show. I mean, it's good to talk about. I would love to hear the comments in the YouTube. I mean, I know we didn't have a regular chat, but like, it's, because the people on Facebook are not really recommending it. And maybe, maybe something the hosting companies would like to hear about. Maybe they think this is a really good move, and maybe it's not. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, if it comes to the fact that they're bringing in inbound marketing from the WordPress.org site saying, preferred web host, this and that, I can see where that's going to happen. But also when it comes to, to looking at the Jetpack side of it, in Jetpack, there's plenty of places that they could put, hey, is your web host slow? We're just running a test. And by the way, you should switch over to this other web host, preferred web host, not a preferred web host. Not saying that exists yet. What I'm saying is you can definitely do that, just like if you use any of the speed tests that are out there to just test your internet connection, you do that. And all of those that are out there will tell you should go switch to Verizon because Verizon's paying. But then you go 2 weeks later and they're like, you should be using Charter, or you should be using AT&T, you should be using whatever. Like, they don't care where they're getting their money from it. They just want to make sure that they're actually getting some money from it. So they'll find the competitor, and then they'll tell you the competitor that's in that area, hey, this is where you should go and do it, and rate them and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, we're not making a value judgment. I mean, we all are still in the WordPress space. Automattic is a great company. They have good benefits. They have awesome people working there that also donate their own time. It's not part of their job for the WordPress project. But, it's a legitimate thing to talk about. We're not afraid here on WPblab. End of story.
That's it. So I want to say thank you very much for you, being able to sit down and talk about this. And for the folks that are at home that are watching this thing or listening to it as an audio podcast, go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com. Find this particular episode, go down to the comments, and leave us a comment. Tell us about this. Bridget will go and post this particular link to the comment thread that she had going on Facebook. And let's get some folks to talk about this stuff and hopefully talk about it in more of a public setting versus, Bridget's private post about this stuff or what have you. So, all right, folks, I want to talk to y'all later. You have a good one. Thank you, Bridget, for being malleable and able to just quickly jump in and make this happen. So talk to y'all later.
See ya.